Hey guys, Gabe here, Big Man Comics Live. How you doing? It's a Tuesday morning, and I'm just working away on the unstoppable time. So this is page 107. We're going up to page 125, so we're getting closer. I'm dividing my time between this and another secret illustration project that I'll work on off the air. But I hope you're all doing good. Come in, hit the like, hit the share, and all that. And yeah, let's see what today holds. I'm doing the show tonight with my friend Jericho at 7 p.m. We're going to be doing a little bit of improv comedy and reviewing the I don't remember what year it was. I know it was in the last 10 years, probably more recent than that. The Carl Urban Judge Dredd, which is pretty good. The Sylvester Stallone one is not great. I saw it once. The Stallone one is pretty forgettable, and he does take the helmet off in that one, which really nerds get really mad at weird things. And I understand, like, Judge Dredd has never shown his face in the comic, and they didn't like Stallone showing his face. But if you're going to hire Sylvester Stallone and pay Stallone money, why would you not show his face? That's my opinion on that. It's also why Bane had the mask that he had. Can you hand me that mask there? I can't get it from here. Bane had the mask that he had in the 2012 movie, so you can see Tom Hardy's face. That was the whole point of that, because the real Bane mask would, of course, cover his face. So it's you have to have those Hollywood considerations when you're thinking about stuff. But whether they showed his face or not, the Stallone Judge Dredd was not great. So,
but that's the whole point of hiring a
Hollywood. You hire a famous face for the famous face,
right?
Yes. Okay. And when did nerd fans not complain? If they weren't complaining, I'd be a little worried about them. Because it would be unusual if they were not complaining.
For sure. Hardy Harmonica waves hello.
Hello, Hardy
Harmonica. I have a question for you.
What?
How has the comic book industry changed since you left? I know it's only been, I think, 3 years.
Since I left the mainstream, it seems like they put the gas pedal down on woke even more. And I remember some things they did in the weeks that I left, where I completely humiliated DC Comics about their woke, perverted Superman book, where they're talking about the sex life of an underage person, which is just unacceptable material. They tried to get back at me, and I know they did. They're too chicken shit to call me out by name or anything, but I remember when I humiliated them, rightly so, for their bullshit. That issue became very controversial and sold a bunch of copies and went, to a second, third, fourth printing or whatever. And they tried to really boast about it. And then the joke's on them. That book was canceled. And it was at cancellation numbers for a while, but out of pure stubbornness and pride, they wouldn't cancel it. But after, I think it was less than a year or maybe just over a year, they had to cancel that book because I was right and it sucked because it was woke. And you can't make good woke material. There's no such thing as a good woke story. Wokeness is the antithesis of art. So there's no way to make a good woke movie, book, song, anything. It just doesn't exist. So how's it changed? Just turbo woke. And they don't learn, like the video game and the movie people, they lose money, studios shut down, people lose jobs. Okay, don't learn. That's all I've seen change. And it's a shame because I think we're living in an age where we have the potential to make the best material ever. Definitely the arts, the state of the arts, the technology to distribute it, the artists themselves. The illustrators are better than we've ever seen as a conglomerate, and they're really whiffing on an opportunity, but whatever.
Yeah, I think to have the IPs that they have, that those particular comics should be huge, and I can't see how they would ever be canceled. Like the one you were working on, you said it lasted a year, and that was, I think, for them out of spite. But when you're working on, when you have Superman, how can it not be successful? It's like you have to try.
Well, anything, if you don't tend it, goes bad. You could have the world's greatest garden, the most beautiful, lush, verdant garden in the world, and don't take care of it for one season. See what happens. See what's there. The plants will decay. It'll be overrun with pests and weeds, and that's anything in life. If you don't do your upkeep, then okay, nature will take its course. Chaos and entropy and decay, and those different things happen. All the stuff that humans make is quote unquote unnatural. It is natural because we are natural beings and we make things naturally, but we make a road, and a road is unnatural. So if you don't tend the road, then the road will fall apart and be gone eventually and be overtaken by nature. You've seen old abandoned cities or whatever photographs, and they're just covered in trees after a few years or decades. And that's anything. If you don't take care of things, then it will just decay.
Yeah, I think when you say that, it includes the people they hire.
Yeah, those people don't tend anything. They show up, everything was done for them by their forebears, and they have no context. They have no appreciation. And the reason why it's cultural, they learn to appreciate nothing because they didn't have fathers. Scientific research shows and anecdotal understanding shows you get your culture and your religion from your father, your worldview, your beliefs. How do I see the world and me in it? That only comes from your father. It, for the millionth time, I've said this, it cannot come from your mother. Don't ask me why. It just can't. It doesn't. It's not the way human beings work. It's not the way our brains work. It's not the way mothers work. It's not the way children work. We cannot understand ourselves, our culture, our history, our religion, our place in the world without a father. We can't. Time has shown this. Life has shown this. The world has shown this. So you have generations of Westerners now, let's say Americans for sure, raised in an anti-father, no-father culture. So what's going on there? Is it crooked?
No, it's just.
Oh. So when they have that culture of no father, hating fathers, and not embracing the father telling them these are our ways, because they didn't have a father telling them these are our ways, our beliefs, our customs, our religion, our nation, our cultural patrimony, they will then apply that to everything they do. And then they will go into Batman with no respect or sense for history, sense for what came before, and especially sense of what was done for them. I laugh at people but not a really laugh of joy or mirth, but like a laugh of just kind of confused disgust of people saying, can't have kids nowadays, costs too much. I'm like, you fucking idiot. Your parents, not your parents, but your ancestors lived like in mud huts, things made of sticks, ate root vegetables and like rodents they could catch, and they had kids. You spoiled, entitled people. But like, this is what you get when you don't have fathers to tell you how the past was and why you should be grateful for the present. This is what we get. So of course, everything without fathers is going to degenerate, because that's the role the fathers play in the psychology of human beings. And for whatever reason, mothers can't do it. Because if they can, they would. And we see how it is with mothers raising without fathers. We see how it is. Doesn't work. So until that is solved, the father issue, then this stuff can't be solved. That's why it's like these victories in the cultural war, they're short-lived. It's like, oh, Snow White, the movie failed, this, that, the woman's not going to be making a movie. Yeah, okay, there'll just be another one. They'll just keep lining up another one because people act on what they believe. And these people raised to hate father, to not have fathers, all this stuff, they have a certain belief and worldview, and they're going to just keep applying it because they think it's how the world is. So until the father issue, the family issue, and all that is solved, the culture war persists. That's all the culture war is the anti-father, anti-patriarchy, anti-culture people versus the people who still believe in that. So.
Right. And I think when you say respecting their forefathers in the comic book industry, when they hire new editors that are inexperienced and young, I think that in a sense, they don't respect the industry by not hiring veterans who have worked for years, and give people who, quite frankly, some of them don't deserve the chance because they haven't earned it.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And older, out of work illustrators, writers, all that, that's where they should go. If they can't keep illustrating forever, they should go. They should be into editorial. Editorial should love that. It's not a charity case. It's like, How good would it be to have these super experienced people with decades of understanding of how this art form works to shepherd in the new artists who are raw with great talent, but really, really raw with no understanding of the context of experience? This is all fatherhood, patriarchy, paternal. That's all it is. Is, hey guys, I've done this for decades. I kind of know. Let me shepherd you in here. And we've lost that as a culture. And then we have this whole tabula rasa, right? That's the Latin for the blank slate. That every day history starts at zero, like Groundhog Day, right? We just start at zero every day. We relearn everything. Apparently, my fathers and fathers and fathers and grandfathers, apparently they knew nothing. And I just built this entire society this morning. That's how the leftist anti-family people approach it. And then they wonder why they get such poor results. They go, well, what if we didn't do what dad said and we just did what we wanted? He said, well, your dad didn't come up with that. Millennia of human beings learned that lesson bitterly by trying other things, and it didn't work. Your father didn't come up with it yesterday. It's been come up with for hundreds of thousands of years of death and misery and failure. And it's like, we're telling you this shit for your own good because we've tried everything else, and this is so lost on people because father has been reduced to Archie Bunker and Homer Simpson.
Right.
So, yeah, what does dad know? What could he possibly know?
Yeah, I think that's true.
I want to expand on that, though, about the father thing and the man's importance and the role and the influence. I saw there was an article going around, one of those stupid liberal rags. I don't know which one. I don't care. They're all the same thing. And it was, hey, men, come back. And it was going pretty viral yesterday on social media. And the answer was like, no. You called us this, you called us that, you made it illegal to be a man, basically. You shit on everything men do. And they're like, come back for what? To be your fucking slave again? And be punished for being men again? You fuck off forever. And that's how men will quit on you. Like what you've seen in society here. It's like, yeah, the deadbeat dad thing is bad. But a lot of the men are like going, what is the point of this? Why would I do this? Why would I be here? Why would I sacrifice? Why would I be miserable? Why would I live and fight and die for these people who are going to treat me like shit and punish me? Like, why would I do that? You'd have to be a dope to do that. So, I mean, until we can figure out how to make men trust that they're going to be respected and not ass kissed and all that stuff, but just like not basically arrested for being a man, which is what leftists like fantasize about, with like, oh, the male gaze, right? You love beautiful women, so now you're some sort of villain or something, and just being a man is wrong. Men will just say, well, then forget it. Change your own tire, clean your own water, figure out your own electricity. Like, what are we going to do all this for if we're going to be punished for it? And that's such a shitty position for culture to be in because we won't make it without men. We really won't. And we won't make it without women, but we got the women stuff locked down. You know what I mean? Like, women aren't leaving society. They're standing there yelling, where are the men going? It's like, well, stop harassing them for being men. And harassment doesn't even do it justice. You know what I mean? Torturing them, ruining their lives. I talked to two different guys that I know about divorce stuff in the last few weeks, and just what the ex-wives do and what the courts allow them to do, it's insane. It's criminal, in my opinion. It's just totally insane. And I hate that because I'm a family first kind of guy, and I think families, I don't think I know they're the bedrock of society. We're not going to have shit without families. And a lot of men are terrified to get married and stuff, because they see what's happening, and it sucks. It's really bad.
I think the being terrified is justified.
Can you imagine? There's some bitch cheats on you, and then she gets to take all your happy shit and pull your kids away, and then tell your kids you're a piece of shit and brainwash them against you. And she cheated on you, and she's rewarded with your fucking money and your alimony. Like, what? What kind of thing is that? Why would that even be allowed? It's insane. So you think this woke stuff is annoying, but I think, when someone has a medical emergency, chest pains or dizzy, or like they feel like they could be dying or really sick and they don't know, the thing in the hospital is the triage, right? They go in, the nurses, the blood pressure, the temperature. They do a basic baseline check to like, what is wrong with this person? What's the direction we should start looking to solve this problem? And the problem with wokeness and feminism and postmodern is like the average person doesn't know what's causing this stuff. And you start talking to them about marriage and family values and Christianity in the Western world and kids and all that. And even conservatives are like, I don't want to get married and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you did the triage, you'd understand that's the whole problem. All this stuff you hate of the weird woke Star Trek and all this stuff that seems silly and inconsequential, it isn't the problem. It's the symptom of the problem. And the problem is a destroyed family and specifically the destroyed villainized role of the father. That is the problem. You fix that, you fix everything. And you talk to conservative anti-woke people, they'll disagree with you about that. Some of them. It's amazing to me, the blindness.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, this is the issue I'm always harping on, the father issue.
Yeah, I didn't know that was trending yesterday. That men come back, or was that what it was?
It was some article, hey man, come back, or hey man, where did you go? Some article that got really trending yesterday, and stupid people just, men are taken for granted in our culture. Hey man, do everything, work hard, bleed, sweat, be tortured, and you better not fucking ask for anything in return. And we're going to disrespect you completely while you do it. And you can hold out as a man for so long, and then eventually you're like, fuck these people. Because you'll hold out for a really long time out of a sense of honor and duty of, hey, I'm a man, I'm supposed to provide and protect and do all this. But eventually the disrespect and the punishing you for being a man, it will become too much. And then that's when men just go silent and go, all right. And they just kind of poof. And you see it happening in culture. Just men are like, I'm going to do my own thing. Forget it. Don't care. I talk to men about achieving things and being big and successful. And they're like, I don't care. They're happy to stay home and eat the food they like and, watch movies, play video games, and like no plans for the future. I talk to people like that, and it's maddening because if you look at culture, all the progress and technology and everything, men do it, not women. Men do it. Be showing me that stupid shit where they show a woman standing next to a stack of papers and she got us to the moon and NASA. Bullshit. All that stuff she did was invented by men. It's like I'm the water boy, but okay, I get a Super Bowl ring, really? So I don't know. I think that men's sense of moral duty to women, children, society is just completely exploited. And it will, and is, you see it right now, burning out. So many dudes are just checking out. They're like, all right, screw you guys. You wanna punish me for being a man? Okay, figure this out yourselves then. If you don't need no man. Let's see how that goes for you. And that's a tragedy, and that is a death sentence for a culture. It's not some funny little squabble and some argument. That is an existential threat to every culture. Read a history book. Once the man is destroyed, vilified, humiliated, okay, then the culture's over, and a stronger culture will come in and replace it.
Yeah, I do think, though, that these men that are not thinking about the future, it's to their detriment, though, even if they don't want to.
Oh, it is to their
and
detriment, and they're aware of it. I've talked to them, and they are aware of it, but they've reached the fuck it, I don't care. I don't care. They've been so abused and shit on and whatever, and they just like, I don't care. And talking to some, they're like happy to see the whole thing burn out of resentment and bitterness. And that's so sad. That's so sad.
It is sad because many of these men have family members who they're going to watch crash and burn too.
Yeah. I mean, it's really sad that people be pushed to that point, I mean, everything has a limit, right? I mean, you can only disrespect someone for so many decades and expect them to stick around. But the absolute disrespect to men has been a decades-long thing. It's been since post-World War II. That's where it started brewing, and now it's fully blossomed into these horrible, whatever it is now. And
Party Harmonica says, I really haven't had to deal with the woke stuff. I think it sees me and turns around.
Well, good for you.
But I think that's only in a sense true, actually, because it's the what the hell is water?
Yeah, I mean,
Um, a- and I don't know if you know that saying. You'll have to explain it, Gabe. But
well, it's just when you live in something, you're unaware of it because it's normalized to you. It was it was a little just aside. David Foster Wallace had in a speech he was giving at a college some fish swimming along. They were young men fish, and the old man fish swims by and say, "Hey, the water's great today," and the young men fish are like, "What the hell is water?" Because they lived in it their whole lives and they were not aware of it. So to think that woke doesn't affect me or this, that, and the other, maybe not. Maybe you're so used to it, you're not seeing it. And that's not an insult to you. That would be all of us. As anti woke and whatever I am certain that I must have some leftist feminist viewpoints that I'm not even aware of that would, shock my ancestors. They're like, oh, why would you allow that or say that or do that? And it's because we've been raised in this stuff for decades. So the Overton window, right? That's that concept of what is normal and acceptable, what is normalized. We were born and it was already so far to the left, it was insane. I mean, we live in a world where someone will look you straight in the face and tell you a woman is whatever they want to be. Someone will tell you that to your face, right? Like anyone that wants to be that can be that. They could just be whatever they want by declaring. Someone will look you straight in the eyes and tell you that that's reality. Think of how far the Overton window is pushed there on what is acceptable as like thought and reality. That we could have people making that argument.
or they can't give you a definition.
That's what I was having dinner with one of my best friends last night. He has young children and he's pulled them out of school because we live in California and the wokeness was driving him crazy. And they're very young, his kids, like 6 and 8. So thank God he got his kids out early. He's homeschooling them, doing a good job now. But he was talking about watching Charlie Kirk videos, and he goes to these colleges and these kids. And Charlie Kirk always tells these kids, "What is a woman?" And then they just start like malfunctioning and shaking. I don't understand your question. I don't understand. Like the hell you don't understand my question. Like, we're not going to play this little charade, okay? And just think that we live in a world where half the people would side with the person saying they quote don't understand the question. That's how far the Overton window is shifted. That's how what the hell a water situation we are in. So, I don't know. It's shocking to me.
Going back to the whole trending men come back, it just reminds me of right after the election, the left was saying, we need our own Joe Rogan.
That's so fucking stupid. God.
And
how are these people even real? They're so dumb.
It is actually
we lost the male vote. We need our own Joe Rogan to tell men how racist they are.
Well,
like they got this shit where they're like, if you're a 25-year-old guy and you date a 19-year-old, you're basically a complete, I can't say it on YouTube. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. They're both adults. Shut up forever. Jeez. And people just take that stuff lying down. It's crazy to me. Oh, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe loving the beautiful female body is perverted. Why would that be perverted?
That's nature.
It's a perversion to say it's a perversion.
Right.
That's perverting nature and God's design. Are you kidding me? But you have people like taking that. I saw some people that like tried to, that Chris Hansen like Catch a Predator show.
Yeah.
So people were doing their own amateurish one on YouTube or something or TikTok. I don't know where, but they got a guy. This is all alleged. I don't know this for a fact, but I read online, which is that could be dubious. Some college people set a guy up and caught him trying to, and I'll make up the numbers, but these are almost precise. He was 23, and the person he was gonna meet was 18 or 19. And they caught him and like beat him up or whatever.
What?
For being a pervert.
That's so normal.
18 or 19 is too young.
By whose rules? The state has said 18, so we all go by
if
that.
you hate men, then those rules. See, men like beautiful women, and because men are always wrong about everything, always, men liking beautiful women is wrong and perverted because they're men and what they do is always wrong. That's the world we live in. And then you wonder why men check out. And then when men check out, we're not going to have children with good mental health, and they're going to grow up to be adults with poor mental health. And then they're going to do things like make a woke Snow White, which we all snicker at and think is stupid, but you don't understand how big the problem is that's causing woke Snow White. And that's the thing that should be bothering you. Woke Snow White itself is just annoying. It's just stupid. The thing causing it is an actual threat to our entire civilization. And that's what I think the disconnect for some like boomer conservatives, they're not getting. They're not getting that. That it's the Snow White is just the symptom. It's the canary in the coal mine. It isn't the actual problem. So I don't know. You can't force people to wake up. I know that for sure.
I don't know if people, even on the right, can see that that's just the symptom.
Well, if they all stop going to fucking Deadpool and acting like it's okay to watch shit like that. And I've said it over and over, like, which is it? Are you for this shit or against it? You know? I don't know. I mean, they're all watching The Boys. They're supposed to be conservative. They're supposed to be anti-woke, at least. And they're sitting there watching filth like The Boys. Okay. Well, enjoy then. I don't know. Because I've kind of reached my limit on a lot of his patience for this stuff too. I really have. You can only tell people for so long, and then you're just like, okay, they don't care. If they don't care, then I don't care to tell them. You know, just wasting my time. I don't know. And I think I think it is more fruitful instead of complaining to do something like make the good art that I make and all that to help people out. I think that is a better use of time than just being mad about shit.
And what are you working on?
I'm working on the Unstoppable Tyrant, which is decidedly not woke and super entertaining and well done. That's what I'm working on. Because I'm not a woke jackass. So, because I think the world does need good, uplifting stories and good entertainment. And we don't need any more crap to tell people the world is ugly and being hateful and selfish is good and all the bad messages you get from them. But, again, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You will make art that aligns with your worldview. And people want to wonder why the Hollywood people make the art they make. Well, they didn't have fathers for the last 50 years. So they're filled with bitterness and resentment and hate and anxiety. It is insane to me that everyone is mystified at what's wrong culturally, and it couldn't be more obvious. We changed one variable, fathers, and then that changed everything. And people won't refuse to see it. I don't know. They just deny it. I don't know. It's very weird to me. But I was raised, even though my parents got divorced, I didn't see my dad a lot growing up. I was saved from a lot of that by having a very good grandfather and being in church where churches are patriarchal, at least the church I went to. And it's still kind of, I didn't have the father in the home. I had stepdad and stuff. So it isn't great. And there are problems I've had from that. But I had a culture that did tell me it was important to have a father, to be a man, that masculinity was good and all that. And I was able to not just hear it, but also experience it in some ways. Not enough. Have had problems I've had to deal with mentally, emotionally, but I grew up in a pro-father culture, at least in name.
Yeah, I think our generation might be the last generation that still fathers were emphasized and a part of a very normal part of the family, and it was like, oh, they got a divorce.
Yeah,
if they were divorced, if
I
your
mean,
parents were divorced.
but you look at stuff like Homer Simpson. Like what's that supposed to be about? He's just an idiot.
Yeah, I mean they're teaching this on the
Right.
through
Poor
through art.
Marge. Poor Marge is perfect, long-suffering wife who can do no wrong. I was reading a guy who did a lot of cultural commentary and help for men. It was psychology and it was a religious website. He was a Christian man, and he had this article on there. It's like, do women even sin? And he was talking about like church groups for adults. Like not the church service, but they were at just groups, prayer groups, Bible study groups, and he said he had observed many times in modern churches, and modern churches, not all, have all, but too many have been infested with feminism and leftism too. And he said in this multiple churches he had seen this phenomena where it's like, if you're struggling with sin or you're struggling with problems, we're here to help, we're here to pray, this, that, and the other, and he said that multiple things he would see the men say, oh, it's pornography or anger or workaholism or alcoholism or whatever. The men are struggling with problems and I got to be better. I got to do this. Help me, help me, help me, and pray for me and let's counseling. And the women were always like, I don't love myself enough. I don't give myself enough chances. I let people bully me, and it was like, and so the article was like, do women even sin? And it was mocking, of course, and it was just showing like even the church is affected by this stuff culturally, which is just unacceptable completely. But who's the church made up? It's made of people out in the world, and they're out in this world with the music and the movies. Everything is brainwashing everyone. So I thank God my mom was overly protective and didn't let me watch this stuff growing up, because I'm still disgusted by it as an adult. If I see it now, like, turn that off, So,
Right.
but yeah, that whole concept of women are wonderful and perfect and all this stuff, and men are basically reprobate scumbags. It's a terrible cultural message to send. We should think of men as good, honest people that we can trust and go to with problems and be responsible and brave and help us, instead of looking at them with scorn and suspecting and thinking the worst. And it's terrible. It's really terrible. So like the men in the stuff I work on, they're good men, they're good guys, and they're not like, oh well, he's a hero, but he's also battling a drug addiction problem and visits prostitutes but he is fighting the worst bad guys. It's like that. Well, that's not a hero. That's the heroes are supposed to be aspirational. I should want to be as good as them, the heroes. I should want to be a good man. So
Right. And in all your stories, it's very clear the good people are good and the bad people are bad.
right, and the good people are still humans. They still are imperfect, but the overall thrust of the narrative of what they're trying to do and be is definitely a good moral person. No one is perfect. We recognize that. We're realistic about it. But we don't do the moral relativism like, it's okay that my hero did a bunch of cocaine and laughed it off and like Deadpool and all that. It's like, it isn't okay. That's actually not okay. That there's no scenario where you would accidentally just, a little bit of hardcore drugs here and there. What's the big deal? It's not okay. And it's a horrible example to set for people.
Hardy Harmonica said, my parents wouldn't let me watch horror, Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th, etc.
Yeah, I've still never seen almost any of that. I watched Friday the 13th for the show with Jericho to like analyze a horror movie. Not a great movie. I just like horror movies. I don't like horror movies. I think they're stupid. I was afraid of them when I was little. Saw a couple as an adult and like, wow, these are boring and dumb. Like I don't even understand the point of a horror movie. A bunch of people get killed by an awful creature. Okay.
I don't like horror movies.
It's entertaining, I guess. Not really.
But I get scared.
They don't scare me. I thought they would scare me because I never watched them, and then I went and watched Scream. I'm like, that's it. And I know it's not a particularly scary movie, but I've seen it. It's like dumb. I don't know. I think it's dumb. I really don't understand the point of a horror movie.
Yeah. I went with a friend when I was in my 20s.
You saw The Ring.
Yes. Because she wanted to see it and I stupidly went with her. And I was very scared screamed out loud, and talked out loud. Like, no. And she elbowed me to shut up. But I was scared. It did its job.
I don't know. I think people like all kinds of shit. Who knows? Who cares? To me, I hate this. I'm not even going to say what I think of horror movies. I don't want to be overly insulting.
Well, let me ask you a coloring question. How do you use color to bring emotion into the picture?
I mean, we all kind of know the emotion of color. There's a little bit of chicken and the egg thing. Was it predetermined? Is it wired into us? I think the answer is both. But we know that warm colors are energetic, right? The warm colors are red, orange, yellow. Let's just go with the 6 basic colors, right? So red, yellow, blue, orange, purple, green. We'll just go with those. So, and you can divide those into 2 groups, warm and cool colors. And we see that metaphorically, but we see it in nature. Maybe that's where it's coming from. So if you put enough energy on something, it turns red, right? If you heat up a piece of metal, it turns red. If you light something on fire, it turns red and orange and yellow. So we see that there's energy in those colors. And when things are cold, right, we think of the water, we think of the, like ice and all that, you'll start to get blue tones and stuff like that, purples and things like that. Even green is a bluish color. They're all bluish colors. And so we metaphorically can have like a mood associated with energy, right? So we think of energy, we think of anger, or we think of happiness, or we think of liveliness. So right off the bat there, you can be like, red is anger. We all can understand that. Orange is pretty lively. Yellow seems pretty happy. Green, depending on the tone, if it's a yellow green, that will be lively. If it's a blue green, it seems serious. Blue seems like solid, trustworthy, like a big mountain. Purple seems mysterious, cold, depressed, weird. So and we can all kind of feel these things. So it is wired into our brains, but it's also reinforced culturally. So that's basically how you're going to use color. You know what I mean? You're going to use color to reinforce those concepts, to reinforce the story. And you'll see it and there's a reason Superman is primary colors, right? Red, yellow, blue. But then the bad guys, they'll use the secondary, tertiary colors, things like that. They'll use green and purple a lot for bad guys. And in the old days, they didn't have a lot of colors. The printing press are going to use way lower technology, 70, 80 years ago. But there's a reason the Joker is green, and purple, because those are the offbeat, not normal colors. And the blue and the red and all that, those are the, quote, normal colors. You know what I mean? So we're going to go with those for the heroes. So that's kind of what some of the psychology was there.
So can you ruin a drawing by putting the wrong colors in?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. You could get the mood completely wrong. And for coloring, you should have mood and depth and focus. That's what coloring is doing to a comic book drawing. You're establishing the mood of what is happening, what's being said, what the moment is, and then depth is just like the 3D rendering of the image to make it look like a 3-dimensional image. And then focus is leading the eye around the page so that the way you lead the eye, you're helping tell the story in order. So I'll show you an example of like color choices I made. So I designed these characters here. These are heroes and villains from the Unstoppable Tigress. And the color choices are intentional. So this is a bad guy here, this goat. So we chose red. Red is fiery, red is angry. And this guy's pretty evil. The bad guy that he's fighting here, this winged bad guy, he is red. Tigress is blue.
Yeah.
Blue is more trustworthy, things like that. It's solid, it's more consistent, calm. He's a good guy. He's wearing blue, even though there's a wolf there. He's another good guy. He's wearing an aqua blue and stuff like that. She's a bad guy. So she's wearing some warm colors, some red. Some of her gems are red, purple, magenta. He's a bad guy. But I put him in the gold and white because it's like he's very regal and noble. He's flying high in the sky and stuff like that. So there is theory to the color here. We don't just do it willy-nilly. There's a lion here. Tyrus is fighting him. But the only reason I use the aqua blue is he's not a major character. And the blue complements the yellow. So he's a lion, so he's got the orange and the yellow and the brown and all that. So we just complement that with blue. So that is just pure color theory. not really emotional. But yes, there are emotional cues with these characters being taken for sure. You know. So, and again, we have this one here, an Empyrean, right? The good guy, he wears blue.
Yeah.
The good, the heroine, the woman, she's wearing orange. It's like a lively, bright, interesting color. The bad guy, wearing red, bad guy, stuff like that. So yes, the robot, he's a good guy. So we put him in some green because it's a little mysterious. He's a robot. It's mysterious, stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely color theory going on with all of this stuff.
Now, if you go back to the Empyrean color, what about the Colonel?
That was just more red, keeping in line with the Emperor guy on the left. That was kind of their color. They used a lot of red and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I don't want to say too much about it. But there was an intentional choice of blue for the good guys and then red. Now, does that always hold? No. In the original Star Wars, the good guys they had red. Luke Skywalker wore orange. All the good guy lasers were always red. When they shot out of their spaceships, the good guys' lasers were red. The bad guys' lasers were green. But you'll see the color theory. Luke Skywalker's lightsaber was blue. The trustworthy, noble, strong, calm, consistent color. Darth Vader, the bad Jedi's, their lightsabers red. That's not an accident. Things like that, And the good guys' lasers from the ships were not red. They were more orange. So an orange you can give to good guys. Red is typically for bad guys, though. When it's in that, like a glowing, fiery red like that. Now you're going to have Spider-Man is red, Superman is red. So that does contradict, but they both balance it with blue. Superman, if Superman was all red, no blue, it wouldn't work. If he was just a red superhero, that would be strange. Same goes for Spider-Man. It would not work if he was just red. So, and I'm sure there are exceptions. There are always exceptions. But all exceptions do is prove rules. They don't disprove rules.
Right. Do you think a reader would know if the colors are wrong?
They'd feel it, sure. Yeah, they might not be able to fix a problem ever, but they can feel the problems, And I think coloring is one of the biggest problems in modern comic books because these digital programs that we use, I told you it's like a V12 engine. And you can't give the keys to a high-performance vehicle to someone who doesn't know how to drive.
Right.
So you'll see people go crazy with Photoshop, and they will destroy the illustrator's drawing, just massacre it. Look what they did to my boy. That's Brando in The Godfather, right? It's so disappointing when you're an illustrator and like I've thankfully it was never really said to me because I'm a great colorist. But I've heard a lot of illustrators saying comics that they draw their stuff, they spend all this time, they make these beautiful illustrations, and the colorist butchers it. Just butchers it. And that's a big problem.
I think we had a conversation before where a colorist can make someone's career.
Oh, I did that plenty. I won't name names, but there are people I colored and they were nobodies. And I made them look so good. And not that they were nobody, like they weren't skilled. They were mega skilled, but they didn't have a career yet. And I saw them get great work right away, like immediately after the first project I did with them or whatever. Yeah, I've seen that happen multiple times.
But I think that can probably happen in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I think someone's career could be hurt by a bad colorist for sure. Could make a bad inker, a bad colorist, whatever, can make them look terrible. So that, and if I was working for a company and they got me a bad colorist or whatever, I'd complain. I definitely would complain. And you have to. It's your life is on, at least like not your life, your career's on the line.
Right.
You can't let that be in someone else's hands if they're not. I've said it a couple times on this show now. It's one of my favorite sayings from an NFL legend. It's not a try hard league. It's a do good league. We're not trying hard. We're doing good, or you're getting the fuck out. That's how it works. So.
Yeah, I think it's important to have the people who come after you and support your work to be super competent.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing with my company. It's the size it is now. I don't hire amateurs. I'm not going to.
There's no time. You're trying to establish yourself.
We get to the size of Marvel or DC, and we're putting out 80 books a month, and we have specials and annuals and holiday specials. Then you can use young guys and kind of let them break themselves in. But when you're doing just a few books a year, there's no room for that,
Yeah. We have a couple hellos and a comment to what we were talking about. Cranberry Langer says, "Hey Gabe, nice haircut."
Hey, thank you. I did it myself.
And he says, "Hello, chat." Um, but he said, "Gabe, you'll probably enjoy this. But in A New Hope, Luke was wearing white. Then in The Empire Strikes Back, he was wearing gray. Then in Return of the Jedi, he was wearing black with a white interior."
Right. And that's all intentional because he's being sucked to the dark side. And he reaches that climax moment when he's fighting his father in the Death Star throne room of the Emperor, where he has to choose if he's going to join the dark side or not. And he doesn't. So yes, him wearing the black is absolutely intentional. I told you a few years ago I did some color theory classes up in the Hollywood Hills, in the hill, the hills that Mulholland, that area there, and with a guy who was a great designer from the big Hollywood art schools and design schools. We went over the concept of color theory in movies and video games, all that. And when they make a big AAA video game or a big budget movie, there's definitely a color theory involved for all the characters, all the designs, all the vehicles, all of everything. And you're designing scenes in the movie and saying, okay, in this scene we're going to use a lot of green and orange. In this scene we're going to use a lot of blue, and they are visual cues to let the reader, let the audience member know where we are, what we're doing, who's here, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and you use those colors for emotion, use them for signature, use them for location, and it is all meticulously engineered, the color theory. So yeah, I think the stuff with Luke and all that's for sure. That's never an accident, stuff like that.
Yeah, Cranberry Langers breaks it down. He says it follows that Luke was on the light side in A New Hope. Then in Empire Strikes Back, you don't know if he's good or bad. Then in Return of the Jedi, he's in all black, but there's a reveal mid-fight in the last fight between Darth Vader, Luke, and the Emperor. His button comes undone, and you see there is still white beneath, so he's still good beneath.
Yeah. Yep. And then it's echoed with his father, Darth Vader, that once Darth Vader's electrocuted to death and he's dying, he tells Luke to leave him there on the exploding Death Star to escape before the whole thing blows up. And he tells him, no, there's still good in you. I can feel it. And he takes him out on that ship. And that's kind of the theme being reinforced from one character to the other, that there's still good in Luke, there's still good in Darth Vader. And, Darth Vader sacrifices his life to save Luke from the Emperor. And then the genius postmodern shitheads who don't appreciate anything their father built at Disney undid all that by bringing the Emperor back. So the entire 6 first movies, the story of Darth Vader, that's what the first 6 movies are, they don't count. They don't matter. It doesn't matter if Darth Vader did anything. We just undid it. And here's how they undid it. Somehow Palpatine has returned. That's the literal line of dialogue. Somehow he's returned.
That gave no effort. You get 0 for effort.
No, but that's what you get when you raise people to hate and not appreciate father, the concept of father, their own father, and understand your father did something for you and you better damn respect it and keep it going forward. In the movie and the book The Road, which are excellent books about a father and son, the father tells the boy multiple times to keep the fire alive. And there is no fire. He doesn't have a torch, but they're traveling throughout the wasteland. They're trying to make it down the coast. They hear there's some people, some food, some safety. They never explain what's wrong in the road, and that's fine. They don't need to. That's not the point of the story. But it is beyond The Walking Dead, Mad Max. It's the end of the world. Everything is dying. There's nowhere safe, and it's a father and a young son in the road. And he keeps telling him, keep the fire alive, keep the fire alive. And the son asks him about it eventually, and he's like, and the dad tells him, like, it's in you. Like, the fire is in you. And the son's like, really? And he's like, yes, and this and that. And, and the spoiler, 25-year spoiler, how old the book is, the father dies, and the son has to carry on. And, but he talks about that, keeping the fire alive, and it's like, what do you think patriarchy is? It's keeping the fire alive, the fire that was built for you. So and that's why the Star Wars stuff is annoying, but I keep trying to explain to people it's the warning, it's the canary in the coal mine that your culture is ending. It is ending and being destroyed if you don't do something about it. It will end because the recipe for the culture, a major, maybe one of the most, probably the most consequential part of that recipe for the culture that you currently enjoy is fatherhood. So without that in the recipe, you won't have it anymore. And it's just a matter of time. And people look at you sideways, think you're crazy, think the sky is falling above. Okay, keep seeing what you're seeing and deny what I'm telling you. You know, I guess it's all happenstance and coincidence. You know, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like Noah, building the ark, telling everyone the world's going to flood and everyone's going to die. Like, you're nuts, old man. Keep building your stupid boat. And then the rain comes and they're all drowning to death, screaming. And he's like, sorry, I told you. So,
Yeah, it is like Noah, because you want people to wake up. You want people to see, participate, become good leaders, good men, good families, good people, good
but
good
but it's
women.
coming from both sides, because it's like that article I told you about. Hey, man, where did you go? And it's like, well, you just keep poking them in the eye for being men. That will discourage a lot of men. Now, me, I'm not a give up guy. I'm never going to quit, because I'd rather win or die trying. That's my view of the world.
Right.
You just go until you die, and that's it. And maybe you win, maybe you lose, but at least you never quit. But the men that do quit and check out, I do understand. I don't agree. I wouldn't do it, but I understand. I wasn't raked over the coals in an unfair divorce, had my children turned against me and our lives ruined and a relationship with my kids ruined. I haven't had that happen to me. So how can I speak to the men who have and tell them, hey, man, buck up, suck it up? I haven't had to live like that. Nightmare. I was talking to my buddy about that last night. I was like, could you imagine just your kids at home, little babies crying, where's daddy? Where'd daddy go? Because your stupid ex-wife has to lie about you and do all this stuff, and court ordered, blah blah blah, and just all this stuff I've seen. It's a nightmare. And then you wonder why men check out, because they had enough. 5 plates of dog shit for dinner was enough. They didn't want any more. No, thank you. So sucks.
Yeah, Cranberry Langer says, well, the culture is dying back, but I think people are realizing there's less cannot in the culture. I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly. There's less cannot in the culture now and going towards God. And I actually think that's true, because
Less what in the culture?
It says less cannot. I'm not sure what he meant.
Using voice to text. That voice to text butchers what people are trying to say.
But he followed up. He said everything or alternatives we cling to is dropping away. So you go to first foundations: God, Jesus, the eternal fundamental truth and principles.
Yeah, but you're right, but it's not enough to talk about it. People have to do it. We have to see that fathers know best, strong, masculine, fatherly culture. We have to see it at scale. It can't be an outlier. It has to be de rigueur, as the French say. It has to be the regular. It has to be the norm for the society to flourish. And it isn't the norm. We all have to admit that. It is not the norm right now. The strong father in charge and leading with love his family, but leading for sure, that is not the norm in the West.
Right.
And until it is, again, you can't get the benefits it provides and the prosperity it provides, because it's the formula.
And when you see those people doing the right thing or speaking out, it's like everyone agrees with it, but they don't get the support and change. And I guess what I'm kind of thinking of in this sense is, like I don't know if I can talk about it. Never mind. When people speak out and say, "Hey, stop doing this to my country," like this is wrong. We have to stick up for ourselves or whatever. And everybody's like, yeah, but they don't rally behind them, and they don't. It kind of just, as soon as the hype for that goes away, then it's gone again.
Well, and that's why you need the arts, because nothing is more persuasive than the arts. On a scientific basis, it is firmly understood by those that have studied it. What I am doing, telling stories, will get people to do things. If you are good at telling stories, movies, comics, books, music, any entertainment, you will persuade. That is, that's the why do you think the communists captured our entertainment system? Because they knew what they could do with it, like of course. So that's why this stuff's so important.
Right. Sorry.
It's all right. So,
well, you got just a few minutes to wrap it up. Oh, with what you just said, Cranberry Langer says that's true. And I think it's Monomachus, says yes, 100%.
right. I mean, you got to that, and that's why it was so important for leftists to capture education and entertainment, because they know that's where you capture hearts and minds. So I don't know.
Right. It is true because the kids are going, like, electronics are part of our lives. I don't see that going away. Social media, movies, all of that. And if the only option is bad, that's what people are going to consume. So you have to make the good.
Right. They're not going to watch nothing and just stare
Right.
at their thumbs all day. They are going to be entertained. They demand it. They want their movies and music. And then the anti-woke conservative right doesn't invest nearly at the same rate that the left does, because reasons I have no idea. And not only do they not invest in the arts, they're like actively against it. It's so foolish. It is one of the biggest blind spots the right has.
It is.
They like mock the arts, they mock actors, they mock singers, dancers, artists, all this stuff as stupid. And then, why is there only shit to watch? Because you won't raise people to be any damn good at this. Do you know how much work it takes to be this good at what I do? I'm not saying that to brag. I am good at what I do. It's a lifetime. I'm 46. I'm still learning. I just got an email this morning, like 7 paragraphs long, from Akion, my layout artist, my good friend, helping me with the cover I'm working on. Move this, move that, twist this guy more, do that. I'm still trying to learn like I'm an art student 20 years old. I'm working on a cover for Tyrus, and I drew some stuff up. It looks nice, so I'm not happy with part of the pose and this and that. How do I get more energy into it? How do I think about gesture in a more clean way? And I lean on his years of experience to help me. And like, you got to be as good as you can be at this stuff to compete, because the Hollywood people, say what you will, you can hate them all you want. They're good. They're great actors. They're great writers. They are really good.
Right. And when someone stands up, like, who was I can't think of his name, but he's the Shazam guy.
Oh, Zachary Levi.
Zachary Levi stands up and everybody's like, yeah, he's right. So on fire for what he's saying and talking about. And I haven't heard anything about it since, and even before that, Matthew Marsden's come out and it's like, stop making trash, let's do the arts. And people are like, oh, yeah, stop begging.
You're begging for money, blah, blah, blah. And he keeps pointing out to them, why does the left fund each other and do all this stuff and give jobs and give money and money and money? Why is the left so smart about this and the right is so stupid about this?
Right. But like, Matthew got forgotten, and Zachary Levi was like all the rage, talking about the same things that Matthew Marsden was saying. But even now, you haven't heard anything. It's already forgotten.
He's trying to raise money to build his own studio or something like that. And we'll see. We'll see if conservatives want to fund it or not,
Right.
I have my suspicions what we're going to hear,
Right. And it is tough out there. There's people like JC Films, they try, but it's a small scale. And I think most people would not know who that is or what movies they've done. Dean Cain made Little Angels, and I believe he funded that himself, or had to find some backers. Right.
Right.
But
it took him years to get it distributed.
Exactly. That
because the right, God bless the people that helped him get it out there. but the right doesn't do it. Like the left, they don't get the arts. They're so dumb about it.
But then and here's what I like is frustrating. We see the movie, it's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
And you want to tell everybody, like, go watch it, go support him. And it's like, oh yeah. And nothing happens.
Right.
And they need the same enthusiasm that the other studios are getting for
right
the not so great messages they're sending. But
yeah, not so great, evil.
Right. All right. One last thing. Let's see. Cranberry Langer says he's going back to work. Ciao, Gabe, Mrs. Al Taib in chat. Thank you. And we have Kelly Comics said hello all.
Hey Kelly, good to see you. Oh.
And that's it. So you want to
Guys, go to bigmancomics.com. Get yourself a copy of DK and All American Lawman. I just spoke to the printer this morning, and I approved the prints for Empyrean Earth Illuminated, my 120-page awesome sci-fi graphic novel, where I will not ruin it with wokeness. This is the best of the best. This is super entertaining. Everything you loved about the old Star Wars, it wasn't woke, but it was just thrilling and inspiring. We got it right here. And I take the risk up front. So I've made the book, pencil, ink, color, letter, word balloons. It is of the highest quality, and I just approved a print run. So we're going to launch the crowdfund on July 24th, but I'm taking as much of the risk up front so you guys will know the book is done, the book is high quality, and you're going to get the book in a timely manner. You're not going to be waiting years to get anything when you crowdfund it. Trust me. If I want you guys to trust me, I got to put that out there first. You know what I mean? I extend the handout first to you guys saying, hey, I'm getting this done for you guys. Tyrus will be coming shortly after that. We're going to just keep making great stuff for you guys. So as long as you buy it, crowdfund it, support it, I'll keep making it. Thank you for everything. Follow me on X and Big Man Comics on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Here I'm Gabe El Taib. And on TikTok, which I haven't posted to enough, I am Big Man Comics 1. And tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific, I'll be reviewing Judge Dredd, the Carl Urban version, with Jericho. We're doing improv comedy and movie review, 7 p.m. this channel here, Pacific time. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.